You are embarking on a policy change. You want to get buy-in from everybody. You want to make sure this is sustainable change. This is not one more initiative. The thing I'm going to tell you to do, and the series of steps, but really the first thing, is maybe not what you're expecting, but it is absolutely essential, and it's going to eliminate a lot of other problems down the road. Let's get to it. Everyone on board by co-creating with them. What is the initiative? Don't just impose, right? So how do we do this? And how do we do this meaningfully and in a sustainable way? Because if we set this up right, we are going to make sure that this sustains, like the structure of co-creating decisions and implementing new policies are going to sustain us for every new policy decision we make. So the first thing we need to do is have an attitude and mindset of partnering with students. In the research of student voice, we call this, Michael Fielding calls this, radical collegiality. And so this is the expectation that teacher learning, and I would also argue admin learning, is both enabled and enhanced by dialogic encounters with their students in which the interdependent nature of teaching and learning and the shared responsibility for its success is made explicit. So I love this idea from Fielding. We have to see students as partners and as colleagues to be able to be successful. Now, the next piece of this, people at the table need to be representative of the different stakeholder groups. I would also argue gender-wise, racial-wise, linguistic, and ability-wise as well. Neighborhood-wise, if you have a very large district that's kind of spanning multiple neighborhoods, right? Like make sure everyone that could be represented is represented. And the kicker is here, we need to probably make sure that our group is not too big. Research has found about 12 to 15 people is pretty much max for making sure everyone does have a voice. The other big aha from the research here is that you want slightly more students than adults in this. Why? Because when we have one or two token students, it silences them. And so if we want to co-create with all of our stakeholders and have students really buy in, quote unquote, to this new policy, we need students to have a hand in authentically co-creating it. And they're not going to jump up and say, no, you're wrong in most cases if they're the only student or one of the only students in the group. We need to have a majority of students. A slight majority is perfectly fine. You could just have like 51% or whatever the percentage is. But that is critical. And also you want family and teachers on here as well. So again, multiple stakeholders representing multiple voices. And we're going to do more with this board than just put it in place. And we'll see that in the next step here. Clarify the governance structure. How are decisions made? Which type of decisions are going to the representative leadership team? Which type of decisions are going to all of the stakeholder groups where the representatives are collecting data and bringing it back? So this is critical. When is an admin making a decision without input from anyone else? When is it the leadership team? When is it that we have multiple revisions, sending it to stakeholder groups, coming back, revising, sending that back? This new initiative, if it's important to you, should be at least decided with the representative leadership team. And I would argue that if it's a big one, which I'm imagining it is, right? That's why you're putting all this effort into it. It should go through the process of going to the stakeholder groups, getting more feedback on the plan, coming back to the table as representatives. And this is critical. Now, having the structure in place and being very clear that we are not always going to do things this way. There are some decisions that just have to be made in the moment by a principal, and getting clear on what those are, or a superintendent, right? If we're talking district level, getting clear on what those are and communicating that to the team and to all stakeholders is essential here. We can't say that we're run by families and teachers and everything if we're really not going to do it. The fourth piece, use stakeholder research to inform decisions. That means we do have to have our representatives go collect data from the groups that they represent. Students as researchers, family members as researchers, teachers as researchers. Now, this is most difficult and challenging, I think, sometimes with students as researchers because they're younger and especially in elementary settings, right? Students need the training. And so often we can leverage partnerships, community organizations, universities to have people come in and actually train them during the school day as part of a course. That is ideal. That is great. We can also do that with family in different meetings and different venues. But I think it's really critical to have people trained in how we collect data about the groups we represent and bring that back to the table. If we don't have that training, we can't expect that people go off and do this. Right there, because as I was recently presenting some of this information, one lovely person in the audience was like, "You are on a roll." And I find myself getting on a roll. So let's pause. Let's just take in that first segment of ideas And then next week, I'm going to come back with part 2, and we're going to delve into the final 3 mechanisms that set up these structures that allow you to move forward with an authentic era of co-creation and no need for this idea of buy-in, because we have authentically co-created and we've created the structure to do this again and again for future policy, not just this one we're thinking about now.